Hey, this is Leanne brook-tyler from Born Happy, and welcome to the Born Happy podcast. Today I'm talking to Dave Booda. He's a teacher, coach, and musician, and we're going to be talking about probably all sorts of things, but primarily we're going to be talking about inborn happiness and what Dave's experience has been of that, how he's using that in his work with his clients, and whatever else comes up. So for people who have just kind of dove straight into this and this is their first kind of time they've even heard anything about inborn happiness or any of those kind of things, is there anything that you would, how would you introduce that to someone? How would you normally start that conversation with someone, Dave? First of all, sorry, hello and welcome.
Yeah, it's so good to be here. Yeah, I was definitely born kicking and screaming. I think, or at least screaming, maybe. But you know, I really love the. I know what you mean by born happy. How did I get here? How did this all come together? How does this work sort of interest me in a way? You know, I've always been really skeptical of personal work that is just like, I've always been the guy that's like, hey, can we just do less digging for problems? Can we do like, can we just make life easier? Can we have fun? Can we not overcomplicate things? Can we not make problems bigger problems by calling them big problems? And you know, so when I found this work, which was a year and a half ago, you know, and the three principles, it sort of like validated a lot of what I had already been thinking. And then it gave me steps to take it even further. But I was just really happy to see that there was a group of people out there that weren't so into, that weren't like, you know, married to this like full-time job of finding out what's wrong with me. Mm-hmm. You know, that was the biggest thing. You know, I talked to a guy yesterday, and we had a great conversation. And he said, you know, I've been trying for the last 12 months to find out what's wrong with me. And I said, I was like, you know, if there was nothing wrong with you, and I'm not saying that there is or there isn't, but wouldn't the fact that you've spent 12 months trying and haven't found anything, wouldn't that be a clue that maybe what you're looking for is not there? And wouldn't that be interesting? You know, if really we could just be who we want to be every moment, and we didn't have to be restricted by all the diagnosis of what's wrong with us and our patterns and all this other stuff. So.
And how did that conversation go? I mean, for me, that's an amazing moment when someone hears that for the first time. And some people are like, nah, you know, spent a lifetime being told there's something wrong with me and I've got to dig to find it. And other people, it's kind of, whoa, I heard something there. So what's your experience of that?
Well, I think it cracked the armor a little bit. You know, it wasn't like a full-blown insight for him. And I really didn't expect it to be either. You know, my experience with that has been, you know, what I say is like the music that people hear during any kind of breakthrough they might have. So it's not, I mean, what I say is less important than the space I create and where I'm coming from. And then people will get their own insights, you know, and that really comes in the form of them understanding things in their own way. So, you know, I wouldn't expect him to just repeat what I said and feel like he got it. I would actually really want to hear about his experience with that idea, but in the way that works for him. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I experienced it too. Where I spent 4 days up in the Connor with the Pranskys, and I really saw that, like, I was having my own insights about this work that really did not sound like what they were talking about. I'll share one of my favorite ones, which is that all thoughts are equal. And this, I don't know when this came to me, but what it means to me is that I have all these thoughts all day long, and none of them are more significant than another.
Yeah.
So I point to one ridiculous thought that I have a lot, which is when I'm driving, I do these like action movie sequences in my head. Like I'll be driving, especially if there's like a 2-lane road and the cars are like whizzing by each other. I'll always think to myself, like, what if I turn my car into oncoming traffic? Like that. It's like the thought and starts to play out like I'm going to turn my car into oncoming traffic and then I'm going to crash my car and die. And this is like, I don't know why I have that thought, but I have it all the time.
I think we all have our own version of that. You know, might not have the car.
Yeah, right.
We've all got that wacky kind of self-destruct thought one way or another. So, yeah.
Or it's like, I think it's all like action movies, but like, or I'll be standing next to like a police officer with a gun, and I'll say, what if I wonder if I could just grab that and shoot him or something. I mean, just ridiculous shit. So obviously I've never acted on these impulses, but I have them. I have the impulse. I have the thought. And I don't think that makes me a criminal. I don't think it makes me, I don't think I need therapy. So, you know, what's interesting is I have other thoughts that I give a lot more credit to, like, I need more clients right now, or I don't have enough money, or, you know, my wife doesn't like me, or I'm not good enough. These thoughts, for whatever reason, I think are less ridiculous than the action movie sequence when I'm driving in my car. And so when I realized that was a huge insight for me. I realized, oh my gosh, I don't have to listen. I don't have to listen. Like I'm already dismissing thoughts. I'm already actually really good at dismissing thoughts, apparently. Otherwise, I'd be dead or in jail or all these other things. So why don't I just dismiss those thoughts as well? And if they came from the same place, why would they get any more respect or any more meaning? And so that's an example of like an insight that I had. You know, but that was not in the book anywhere. You know, there was not a chapter in a book called "All Thoughts Are Created Equal."
No,
there might be a chapter in my book someday. But you know, I think that's a really important point, and that's something that the Pransky's really stressed is this idea that you have to have your own insights, and your own insights coming from, you know, not getting too lost in what the other person's saying, and you're not trying to understand it, not trying to figure it out, but just sort of being in a relaxed space of just hanging out and just going, okay, you know, I'm hearing this, but I'm also thinking about my own life. I'm just kind of having one part of my awareness, just thinking about me, thinking about what I'm up to, and what this is saying, how is it contrasting my own life?
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to get that across to someone that's new to this and they're in that learning mode, because we will spend our lives being taught that the way to take on something new is to learn it. And this is very much about that kind of an understanding that comes from within you as opposed to something you're learning from someone else. It's the only way for it to be meaningful. So that, how you described that was really interesting. I love your analogy in terms of, you know, why would that one be any more real than this one? But we do, you know, people do that. We don't realise they're created equal. What did that mean in terms of how did that change your experience? You talk about dismissing thoughts. What did that actually mean? Because a question I get a lot from clients is, okay, so what do I do next?
I'll give you a great example, and I think this happened on the drive back from La Conner to I live in San Diego, and I'm moving to San Francisco, so by the time this airs, I'll probably be in San Francisco. So I was driving back, and I was looking at my bank account on my phone, and I noticed it was lower than I wanted, and so I had the thought, I need more money. That was the thought that came up, and it was a stressful thought. I knew it was a stressful thought because it was followed by a crappy feeling. So I looked at this phone, and it was like a couple $100, and I go, oh, I need more money. And then I followed up by like kind of, you know, anxiety and, you know, stomach churning. And then I realized that doesn't have to mean anything. It's just a thought. It's not like I used to have that thought, or I need more clients. I used to have that thought. And then what I would do is I would start a war against it, essentially. So I'd have this thought, let's say I need more clients. And then I'd go, okay, how do I battle this thought? Because I obviously need more clients because that's what the thought said, all hail thoughts. And so I would go, okay, I need to get on my calendar. I need to buckle down. I need to start working more. I need to work, a couple extra hours this day. I need to reach out to this. I need to and it would, and I'm not saying that any of this stuff is bad, but the way I would do it is stressful. It would be stressful for me because I would just be responding to this thought kind of like an emergency. And so for the first time driving back, I had this thought, I need more money. And I looked at my bank account and I just go, I don't need more money.
Yeah.
I could just be where I'm at. Because 3 seconds ago I wasn't stressed. And I know for myself, and I think it's true for everybody else as well, is that when I'm in a place of not being stressed about money is when I actually make money or I'm more creative.
Yeah.
But if I'm in gut clenching reactive mode, it's just not a good idea. It's not a great place to be creative. It's not a great place to serve people, have ideas, all this stuff. And as an entrepreneur, I mean, ideas are just absolutely tied to money for me. There's no way. Everything I do that makes money is started with an idea because there's no payroll, no salary. So
I love that, and I find it very interesting that we kind of all know that. We all know that we're our least creative and least clear when we're in that kind of stress, need to find answers mode. I think we all kind of know that, but we still do it. We still go into that, okay, I need to find an answer, I need to solve this. How's that been for you now, kind of seeing that's, very clearly, even though you probably knew that, it was, for me, I never actually thought there was an alternative. I thought, okay, this is stress day today. I'm having to do everything with the kind of mantle of stress. And it's completely different now, like you say, to knowing that creativity doesn't flow easily from that state has just changed everything. And, as you're saying, all ideas and everything thrown in that place. How's that changed for you? Knowing that, having that different experience of creativity.
Yeah, I mean, life is just so much more relaxed and stress-free. I suppose that if my ultimate goal in life was to be the best banker on Wall Street or to be the richest man in the world, or if my goals in life were only on the achievement level, I suppose one could even make an argument that that's not the best idea to not work all day and have stress around that, because we see people all the time that actually do this and are stressed out and want to kill themselves, but have achieved what they want. So I don't see that it's had a huge impact on the achievement part of it. But I've been more creative. I've had the ideas that I've had have just come easier. But mostly I just don't have to spend whatever time I was going to spend stressing out. And the other thing that I think this is really important too, and this is really another thing I got from hanging out there in McConnor, was, and this is the statement this is another kind of insight that's been coming to me, and I just keeps repeating over and over again during my day, and the phrase is, it's a question. It's like, what could be more important than quality of life?
Yeah.
I just really, I'm 31. I've been a hustling guy in my 20s, and I coach a lot of guys actually in their 20s, and I end up working with a lot of people like that, and I see it, and I see how we don't really value quality of life. It's like it's like the thing that we do if we have time, and I think, and I've also met a lot of people who feel like they're doing really well at quality of life, and I say, I don't know, man. It seems like you think you're getting an A, and I think you're really getting a C+. And I've had the luxury of meeting a lot of people who who are getting B's and A's at quality of life. Even meeting George Pransky was really fantastic, and I got to hear from my friend Eric Olson, who you might know. He was doing a 6-month mentee program with them, and he got to hang out with George, and he was saying George would just he's a 70-something-year-old man, and he would just do whatever he wanted in a sense. Like, so he would be like, well, if he's in the middle of a session and he felt like it was a good time, and he was tired, he'd say, hey, I'm going to go take a nap, and we'll just come back and finish this. Because people come up there, they don't come up there with like a strict schedule. They go up to see them, and they hang out in a little guest cottage, just relax. It's not as structured as what they're maybe used to. And he would just kind of, I realized how much I'm not putting quality of life first, and I'm making that kind of a side dish. And so that's another thing I really learned, and that the principals have taught me. But again, not necessarily because that was part of what they were supposed to teach. It's just kind of what I got out of it in a fun way.
Yeah, we kind of get what we're meant to get. There's no script there, is there? I have similar thinking. I see the same types of thinking come up in my clients, where it's almost the odd thing that we hide from ourselves, where we think we're going out for these things that are going to give us a great quality of life, whether it be money, cars, sex, whatever it is, and forgetting the reason we're going for those things is because we think that will give us quality of life, and not realise, oh wow, I could actually just shovel that out of the way, because the quality of life is right here, right now, if I just see it.
Yeah.
And we kill ourselves, stress ourselves, work ourselves like crazy to kind of keep moving through those things that we think are going to get us there. And it's so
I have a good example. I have a good little exercise that I've done. This is just fascinating to me. I was doing a mastermind group, and then I proposed this question to the guys, and these guys all guys in their 20s. And I said, okay. I said, if I were to give you a choice between 2 lives, and you had to pick one of the lives, one life, you could have everything you ever wanted. I'm talking about, like, you could build the next $1 billion eco business. You could be a combination of Richard Branson, Tony Robbins. You could be president of the United States. You could just literally do everything you could ever imagine achievement-wise. Every goal you've had, you just killed it. And for women, whatever that would be too. That's kind of like a men's version of it. But that would be one life. And then, and then on the other life, you would have the most in the first one, you'd be like moderately happy. Like, you'd get a C in happiness. And the second life, or do you guys have grades, and like you have A, B, C, D grades in England? Okay, good. I don't know if I'm talking. So, so the second life, you would have the most mediocre life, like 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday, maybe $50,000 to $60,000 income throughout their whole life. Live pretty much paycheck to paycheck. You'd have like an average size house in an average size town with an average size family, and so you'd never achieve anything extraordinary in one sense, but you'd get an A in quality of life and happiness. Like, you would enjoy your life would just be so rich. And then I asked him, which one would you choose? And of course, maybe it seemed obvious to some people. Oh, of course I would choose B. And one of the guys actually honestly said I would choose A, which I appreciated because I really get that. We do have that, and he was just being honest. But I said to them, look at that, and I said, and I can feel places where I want to choose A. It's not that I'm totally converted or something, but look at the hesitation to choosing B. Look at that, and maybe take the case that whatever hesitation we have to choosing B is the extent to which we think something else is going to make us happy. Because I'm pretty sure that the only rewards we get here on this earth is like in the form of like happiness and fulfillment and joy, and like that stuff that we can't get from things, and it's like, why else would we be doing anything?
Yeah.
but for quality of life, like what else is the point, and so I pose that question because it's interesting, and and again, for myself, like even when I said it that 6 months ago or so, it was like I saw places that I wanted to choose A, and I saw that I couldn't fully commit it to B. Was tough because then I think, well, yeah, but what about this? Or yeah, but I wouldn't feel it. It's like, what the hell else matters? What else matters? And I keep asking myself that, what else matters besides quality of life? And I haven't seen anything that matters more yet. So I'm going for that.
It's a powerful illusion though, because we're so used to thinking that's what brings happiness that our brains are automatically thinking, yeah, but if I chose A,
I'll
get those things, and then I'll be happy. Isn't that?
And then I get guys that go, yeah, well, can I have both?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you can't have both. I mean, I don't know. In your life, you can do whatever you want, but the point is that we make these decisions every day. There's that one example. We make micro decisions like that every day.
Yeah.
Right? Because the truth is, almost all of us are doing okay financially. Like no one's ever worried about where the next meal came from. If I didn't eat my next meal, it'd probably be better for me. I eat too much as it is. So we're constantly making choices that serve our achievement versus our quality of life. Now, if the quality of life is high and then we achieve, that's great. But we have the order mixed up. And as we go throughout our day, I mean, even just a simple example of like, what do I really want to be doing right now? Like, what do I really actually want? My wife and I do workshops here, and we did a workshop where we brought people in, and it was all about honesty, authenticity, and truth telling. So we had them sit in small groups, and all the people would ask one person for 5 minutes. All they would say is, "What do you really want?" And just kept answering that question. What do you really want? What do you really want? We're so distant from that a lot of times. Like, what do I really want to be doing right now? How can I align my life to just have it be really nice and enjoyable? And why aren't I asking myself that question more often? Not instead of what do I need to be doing or what should I be doing, what do I just really want to be doing right now? And I find it's just, I cannot ask myself that enough. There's actually a beautiful exercise that I heard from Michael Neal, where he talks about the comfy chair, and he has people sit in a comfortable chair and just wait until a genuine, authentic impulse arises to actually do something. So if it's like, you should do your taxes, no. You should call your mom, no, or whatever the shoulds, whatever, something that's just like and then you wait and you go, huh, you know what? I really want to just read a book right now. You go read a book until you're, filled with that, and then you go back to the chair and you block out like a half a day or a day to do this. And it's so profound and it's so simple. It's just we don't do that. I really got the sense that that's how George Pransky lives his life.
Yeah.
More so than other people. He's not perfect, but he's just more in touch with the flow of how we want to be living, whatever that looks like. Could look like going for a run. It could look like sitting and meditating. It could look like taking a nap. It could look like going on a book tour and changing the world. It could look like whatever, but it's like that gets to come first, and that's how I've shifted it for my life, and that's really made a big difference. I sometimes just find myself watching a movie in the middle of the day. Okay, like I'm working, but I'm like, I want to watch Thor, and so I put on Thor for an hour or so. Yeah. And a lot of people would hear that and go, "That's totally irresponsible." I mean, I don't. And it is irresponsible in the paradigm that we've set up for what it means to be responsible. nobody would say that's irresponsible of you not doing what you want to do. You know, they would say that's irresponsible because you're not saving money for your retirement, or you're not putting away, you're not working enough to do the job. But no one looks out for our happiness. No one looks out for us doing the things that we want. We don't get shunned for that. No one's gonna, you know.
Being responsible for your happiness, yeah.
Yeah,
so
like why aren't you doing what you want? Come on. You know, I mean, that happens sometimes. Fortunately, I have friends that actually do tell me that, but that wasn't the way it used to be.
No, so true. And it generally isn't the message that we're surrounded by. Really true. So, has that been your sense that as you started to kind of, I suppose, strip back or see the thoughts for what they are, is your sense that underneath all of that is just, whether you call it happiness, well-being, clarity, all of those things, is your sense that that is our kind of default setting when we see through the thought?
Yeah, and you know what's really cool is that there's a lot more that I've discovered, a lot more cool default settings too than happiness. You know, for example, and because I did get that from these teachings. It's like, okay, our default setting is happiness, and I'm like, cool, I get that. And then I realized our default setting is also creativity, and my default setting with my wife is, you know, just completely head over heels in love, sexual arousal, everything. That's just a default setting when I actually get down to it. There's my also default setting is service and contribution to the world. Like, I'm not, if I just say do whatever I want, I'm not going to sit on the couch all day. Like, I'm wired to like contribute and to serve and through that service to make money. It's not like I don't have to do anything to get. It's like it's just like that stuff was there, you know. I think we have. It's like I often liken myself to a dog in a way, because dogs are happiest when they're doing what they were meant to be doing. Dogs are happiest, like, you know, if they were digging a hole or chasing something. Like, I think we have this. We project what we think we want onto animals and think, well, they'll be happiest sitting down on that couch, but we know that's not true. We know. Dogs are always like, hey, let's go play. Hey, let's go play. Hey, let's go play. You know, and it's like they don't want to be sitting on the couch, and it's like but yet as humans, like we think that like that's where we actually want to be. So we spend our time trying to get back to the couch, you know, instead of just going, what do I really want to do? Like, and knowing that what we really want to do, that's awesome. Like, that's going to give us the life we want. I'll tell you another exercise, and this is a little more in like kind of the coaching realm, but what I like to do sometimes is take people through the scenario of getting, I call it like the ultimate pension or the ultimate severance package. So I say, okay, so say you're working at this job. Let's say they're working at a job at the time, and their boss calls them in their office, and I ask them, say, so if they're making a decent amount of money, I'll just say, okay, you're going to get this amount of money. But the boss calls them into the office and says, hey, I got bad news and good news. But bad news is I got to fire you. Like, you got to be out today. Pack up your shit. You got to go. Good news is this company just created this ridiculous severance package for you, where you're going to get paid the same amount you're going to get paid for the rest of your life for no good reason. Like, you're getting your salary for the rest of your life. And let's say that salary is $100,000. So let's say you're going to get $100,000 a year for the rest of your life. You don't have to do a damn thing. You know, healthcare benefits all taken care of. You're good. So, but you have to leave. You have to pack up. You know. So I go, okay. So I'm packing up. All right. So let's say what happens now? Like, well, I go home. And, you know, I want to travel. I want to travel. Okay, how long do you travel for? I travel for a couple months. And then I'm like, what would you do now? And they were like, you know, so whatever the point is where they just get bored, that's where I want to get to. Because I say, okay, so you're bored now. What do you have 50 years left of your life or so. What do you want to do? And they're like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, all right, well, just sit with that, you know. And I'm like, well, I guess, I had one guy tell me, I used to ask this question. I was in the Navy. I used to ask this question to guys when I was standing watch them with them. And the guy's like, man, I just love making things out of wood. I love woodworking. I say, you could do that. I mean, I wasn't trying to get him out of the Navy, but he was trying to think about what he would do afterwards, and he was coming up with a lot of things that he didn't want to do. I was like, you could really be like think about that. If you had $1 million and you had money coming in out the wazoo, you would still make things out of wood, and you could sell those.
Yeah.
And that would be it. You could. That would just be great. You'd just be like, cool. That's just like, when we really drill down to find out what we really want, it's not bad news. I just listened to this amazing podcast. It's called The Nerdist, and they had an interview with Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise, man, that guy loves making movies. He loves movies so much. I know that the answer to that question for him would be, I'd make movies, and that would have been his answer 40 years ago too. He just loves movies. He watches like a movie a day. He's obviously already always doing movies. Just loves movies. And when you put Tom Cruise in a room and he doesn't have to do anything, he's going to go make movies. That's what he likes doing. It's his natural, default state. He's loving movies, making movies. My natural default state is just teaching and helping people. If I had hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in every month, I would just help people. I would do this. I would be here talking to you, and I always return to that. I say, is what I'm doing what I'd be doing if I just had unlimited resources? Would I still be doing this? And I ask myself that all the time. And I do find my natural state, because that returns me to what I'd be doing without all these influences. And money is the biggest influence for us anyways, It just always returns me to that. The natural state is so awesome. So it's not just happy. It's productive, creative, everything. In love, it's just everything. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm thinking I actually should rename everything Born Awesome, because I get you. It's all of it, isn't it? It's for me, it's been a kind of realization that we, again, get so serious, take responsibility as something to be valued, and devalue things like being playful, which are, again, really just natural to us, being in that kind of playful state and, rolling whatever happens when we're in that state. It's just, for some reason, that's seen as something that's not what we should be doing. We should be sensible and adult and, knuckling down in pursuit of making money.
And fun and play is really one of my highest values. I believe laughter is the most profound spiritual experience that anyone could have. And it's funny that not a lot of people disagree with me on that, although you would think that they would. But really laughing where you're taken over by laughter, it's not a choice. Yeah. It's I don't care what you want to say. You want to say spirit, God, whatever, comes into your body and just takes you over. It's like an exorcism. Not
it's kind of like the ultimate
whatever the devil goes into you, but it's it takes you over. That is profoundly spiritual for me. There's another exercise. I don't know why I'm thinking about all the exercises I do today, but this is another beautiful thing that I thought the other day. And it has to do with living a life that's fun and playful. I thought to myself, okay, what if I got to live 1,000 lives, and each life I was aware of the previous life, and I'm not talking aware in the past life sense, but aware I actually remember it, just like I remembered last year. So I got to live these lives over and over again, kind of actually, have you seen the movie Edge of Tomorrow?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, it's amazing. It just came out as a Tom Cruise. Anyways, he relives the same day over and over again. So if I lived the same life over and over again, what would my 999th life be? You know, what would that be like?
Mm.
And it's like, would I mean, I'd have a lot of knowledge. I'd know what to do. Would I turn myself into like a prophet, Jesus figure, try to save the world? Would I build a business? I don't know, what would I do? And the best I can do now, not having lived and being consciously aware of those lives, is I would have a fucking awesome time.
Yeah.
I'd be born awesome and I'd stay awesome. And I would find the fun in everything. Fun is not something, it's not something you can get to or do. Fun is a way to experience everything. You can have fun at a funeral. Fun is a context for life. It's not a room in the house. It's how you dance in the room that you're in. And that's, for me, that was huge. That's how I try to live, and it's like I don't think we get much credit for anything but fun in a way. Fun and happiness seems to be what the currency of the quality of life is all about.
Yeah, I get
for
you.
me.
So for someone listening to this, thinking, man, yeah, you painted this, gorgeous picture of what life could be like. I want some of that. I don't feel like I can. I've tried everything out there. I want to be like that, but I'm just being, whether it being caught up in, anxiety, depression, or stresses of money.
Yeah.
How do you get there?
Well, that's a really good question, because I've been there too, and I think the first problem is that that if people are listening to this, they're trying to understand what I'm saying, and we were trained as kids in school to listen for understanding. So if let's say this is if somebody's listening like they would listen in like an 8th grade classroom, we're listening to try to get it so we can pass a quiz, essentially, or not look stupid if we get called on by the teacher. So that's not the kind of listening that generates insights for me. So when people hear this, it's not about getting it. I think that's really important, and this is what I would say for any of your podcasts, because they're all going to be really beautiful, and the people that are going to be speaking about their experience, but not necessarily. I mean, people might even say something different than I say. There'll probably be things that contradict. Someone might say, like crying is the most spiritual experience. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? This guy says laughing, this guy says crying, whatever. It's just like it's a provocation, right? So I'm just provoking. I'm like poking people, and I'm trying to, and so I'm waking up parts of people that may not be aware of right now. But I'm not trying to have people get what I say. And in fact, one of the signs that when I'm working with people that they don't get what I'm saying is that they just repeat what I'm saying word for word. Mm-hmm. It's a sign that they don't really understand it. But when they have their own insights, it usually comes in the form of their own language and their own and their own wisdom and their own genius. So someone like, say, who's like a dog trainer might relate this to understanding animals, So that's really the first and almost the last thing that I think I would say to somebody who's like that, because it's not something you can get, and then what I would recommend to give yourself the best shot at forming your own insights is, especially if this has moved, if this has moved you at all, this time that we've spent together talking, is go spend the next hour or two without your cell phone on and without the internet, and go somewhere where you don't have to talk to people, and just go somewhere and be with yourself, and do it like you take a shower. When we take a shower, we don't have an agenda. We don't take a plan of thinking into the shower, right? We just go into the shower and we say, all right, I'm going to wash my body and wash my hair. And we pretty much have the whole procedure down so we don't think about it. And all of a sudden what happens when we don't think about anything is we start getting these really cool insights, or we start coming up with new projects. And I think everybody's experienced that. Brush your teeth, shower. It's like, what, all my ideas come in the bathroom when I'm sitting on the toilet. Well, it's because we're not trying. You're just relaxing. And so this information, just I like to say, just make the assumption that all this information, you already got it. It already went in. If you heard it, it went in. So it's like, go let your subconscious mind like process it and just hang out. Go hang out somewhere. And again, when I say let your subconscious mind process it, I don't mean that to be like a stressful activity. I mean it to be like,
how do I do that?
go for a hike, right? And I used to go for hikes once a week, and I had them when I first started. I called them idea creation hikes, right? And then I realized even that puts a slight amount of pressure on me to create ideas during this hike, which is not what I want. So then I just made it hike. My only goal at the hike was to put one foot in front of the other, up a mountain and then down again. And that's it. I did carry a journal and a pen, and that's it. And I left my phone in my car, just in case I came up with ideas. But again, I wasn't expecting anything. And of course, because I didn't expect anything, then, halfway up the mountain, I'd have this like brilliant idea for a new project I wanted to do or something like that. But it comes from nothing. It comes from a space of nothing. It doesn't come from me analyzing or problem solving. I want to create another distinction that's really helped me, which is active thinking versus passive thinking. Active thinking is what we are taught to use to solve problems in school. So we're taught, if I said, okay, Jenny's in a car going 60 miles an hour and Billy's going in a car going 30 miles an hour and they're 100 miles apart, how long are they going to, whatever. We think about that. Or if I ask them directions, hey, how do I get to the supermarket? They'd say, okay, you go left down the road. Okay, I think go left. So that's active thinking, and it's really useful. We use it all the time. But passive thinking is a far more interesting way of getting information. And passive thinking, to me, looks like clearing your mind and listening for what arises. It's just like listening for what comes up. And it's the same thing that improv comics do. It's the same thing that psychics do. It's the same thing that poker players do when they're trying to decide whether to call that guy out on his bluff or not. It's like listening to your intuition, listening to your gut. So when I clear my mind, I just listen for what arises. It's usually surprising. It's usually kind of like, that's interesting. Wow. All right. And it's a way I'm not going to try to get ideas and search for things and then pull them out of the, and it's a very, very gentle process. And then I actually kind of liken it to like a snow globe where, so if we were like holding a snow globe and like shaking it around and walking around all day and thinking, the moment we put the snow globe down, the snow starts to kind of slowly fall and fall. It's like molasses or whatever that crap is in there. And like fall and fall and fall. And then all of a sudden, the picture behind it gets really clear. And you can see, oh my God, look at that. You can see the Empire State Building or whatever. And then it's going down. And then all of a sudden, like, if you've just stayed still long enough, that snow just falls to the ground. And that's, to me, like a beautiful representation of a clear mind. And from that place, magic happens.
Yeah. And it's something for me.
Did I hypnotize you there? I had to hypnotize you. I'm like, slowly. Yeah.
Empire State Building. It's something that for me I've built trust in over time. The more I see that happening, the more I see that settling down process bring the magic. The next time I have something, some thinking around something I want to solve, or just, I get that feeling that it's time to settle down. I trust that process more and more. I trust the intuition and the insights that will come from there. And I know that I'm not going to fix a situation by thinking. But I love the way you describe those two different ways of approaching the situation. So, one final question, and again, I'm thinking it from the perspective of someone listening to this, and again, I think the way you described what to go and do next was beautiful, and I think that's really, really helpful way for someone to approach this. But what was it that you first heard? What was it that made you look at this, that intrigued you, made you think there's some truth here? What was that first thing that you saw?
Well, I read the relationship handbook, and I'm married. My wife and I love couples work. I mean, not love couples work as in we have like we love the therapy end of it, but like we just really enjoy making our relationship as great as it can be. We're really into that. Which you'd think more people would be, but so we are. And so when we read that book, I realized, it was that chapter. I think it's actually chapter 9. I remember it because I have it I've scribbled a bunch of notes in it.
Oh, I do, yeah.
You have it? Okay.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's something to the effect of don't solve problems. Don't try to solve problems. Don't get to the bottom of problems. Is it chapter 9? This is really important that we get the chapter right. So it was something to the effect of
chapter 10.
Yeah. Oh, chapter 10. Okay, cool. Next time.
If you're watching this on video, this is the book that we're talking about, the Relationship Handbook, and it's by George Pransky. And I think it's actually quite tricky to get on a hardback, but you can get it, I think, on Kindle via Amazon.
Oh, okay, yeah. So for me, I really got that. I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have to get to the bottom of whatever we think is causing us the stress. We could just be like, yeah, and I totally see that because when I'm annoyed, everything is annoying.
Yeah.
When I'm annoyed, I'm like, oh, I can't believe she didn't do the dishes. Damn it! And I go off and make that mean all this shit, and and then when I'm in love, it's I'm like, oh, she left a mess, that's so cute, and it's like, I really love that idea that why would I try to solve the problem of whatever I think is going on when I'm annoyed, because it's not really the problem. It's really not. And that was just awesome. I mean, that alone, that's worth so much. I mean, over the course of my life, I can't tell you how much time I've gotten back, and just that would have just been wasted trying to solve things. And I really see too, because my wife and I are very, very different. Pretty much, I mean, we're pretty, I would say typical, but kind of very typical kind of masculine, feminine archetypes, I guess. It's I love the planning and the logical and the earthly stuff, and she loves emotions and feeling and not planning. And so there's just a lot of ways in which we don't see eye to eye. And one of the things that book talks about too, which I always remind myself of, and that really helps our relationship, is that I know that when I'm in a bad mood, I see those differences as problems, and I'm like, oh, this will never work. Oh my God, we're so different. It's just too hard to get along with her. And then when I see us when I'm in love, I really get that we're complementary. I get that we're the best team ever. And we really are, because we actually work together, and we really are a fantastic team. We're a killer combination because we bring totally different things to the table. So she serves the kind of galactic feeling, intuition, and then I'm the grounded, coachy guy who can really put things in terms that everybody can understand and speak. She can speak to women, I can speak to men. It's really beautiful. So I love working with her as a team, and I love being with her. And I've learned so much from her and just our relationship. She's opened me up to a whole new world that I would never have really understood to the extent that I do without her. And we've only been together for a year and a half, and vice versa. I've taught her what it means to be grounded, and so we're so complementary to each other, and I always want to remind myself of that, because it's it's a choice. I have a choice to see as our differences as a pain in the ass, or as just the best team ever. And I really got that out of that book too. The idea of relationships being complementary. And the truth is, like, every relationship, in some way, we are attracted to people who are different than us. Just the fact that most relationships are men, women, and women and men are totally fucking different. We're like from different planets. So that alone is enough reason to be like, well, this, there's obviously some differences here, but how can we use these differences to make a more beautiful whole and complete, relationship, versus like making the differences wrong and then thinking that what I really want is someone who's exactly like me, which I don't, because that would drive me insane. Like, I really want someone who's going to help me grow, and that's oftentimes people that are different than me. And even in gay relationships, people just there's a polarity. There's always differences in relationships. So, that's been really, that was what first got me into this work. Really, just that book alone had me go up to Lacanau for 4 days. I did that back in February, and that was just amazing. Really, really special. It was just even going up there and hanging out in that town. It's the town is actually not even that. The town is just a small little town. It's not anything. I think people have that idea that maybe it's like there's like rainbows and like waterfalls and shit, but it's just like a little town. But it's quiet and it's just relaxed, and you get, when you're there, to like, when you get the intention is to slow down, it's a perfect town for that. And so I just really, really enjoyed it, and it all started with that book, which is just, it's an amazing book. And it's super short and simple, and it doesn't even matter. If people aren't in relationships, it's a great book. It's a book about life through the context of relationships.
Yeah, I always describe it as the kind of the book that everyone should read. It's as soon as you're old enough to read this. But the funny thing is, it doesn't actually speak directly about the principles or how we create our experience of life through thought. It doesn't really directly talk about any of that. It just seeps in very much in the way that you've just been describing how to listen with this understanding. It kind of does that in a way. It sort of just lulls you into this kind, how you hypnotise with a snow globe. It's a bit like that. At the end of it, you think, damn, everything looks wonderful. How did that happen?
And I love the case studies in it, and it's really, it's so practical, and you get to just actually see the conversations that these couples were having, and then see the differences when they get these insights, and then they interview some couples that are kind of already living this way, and they say, what do you do about problems, or what do you do about this, and then you get to see what they actually say, and I just think it's really brilliant. Yeah, it's great.
I really love that. That's your the thing that you first saw. It's a great sort of practical application. Sometimes this stuff can sound a bit out there, or a bit okay, that all sounds great, like when I get there and understand it, but I think that in itself, just understanding, actually you don't have to go and tackle a problem. We've been sort of trained to kind of think that's what we do. We see a problem in a relationship, we go in and tackle it, and just to sort of see, it's quite practical, kind of a sense of, I actually don't need to do that, because chances are your mood will change and it will no longer look a problem. So just don't waste your time. Just wait and see what happens. I love that. I love that was the thing that first attracted you. And actually, I'll sneak in one final question, if that's okay with you. As if you were to say to someone, look, just if there was anything you heard here that kind of, felt like truth to you or stirred something in you, what is it you'd say to them to kind of go off and look at, try, see, notice? Is there anything you would suggest them to kind of see how this applies to the way they're creating their life?
Well, what's coming up for me that is, I feel like maybe sort of answers that question, but it was just coming up as you were saying this. There's a Rumi quote that I love, and he says, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a single drop. And the reason I think that's significant and plays into this conversation about the principles is I get to tell people all the time, you know, there's nothing wrong with you, and whatever you experience, I experience too. You know, I am also not just a person in the world. I'm the entire world in one person, just as you are, just as anybody I talk to is. And when we get that, it's not. We're not so weird anymore. It's not so weird we have these thoughts or they have these stresses or these anxieties. Like there's Byron Katie says there's no new thoughts. You know, like we all experience this. There's nothing that I cannot find in myself. You know, I might be sitting across from someone who's a murderer, who has murdered someone, and I may not have actually murdered anybody myself, but I've had thoughts about that. I can find the murderer in me. Like I really am the entire universe. It's all contained in here. And so why, if I really get that, like why would I don't know, why would I stress about or why would I make anything wrong that comes up in the context of that? Because it's I think it's good to know that we're not alone. It's good to know that everybody else experiences everything we're feeling, period. Everybody. And that's why, you know, one of the things that my wife and I do in our workshops all the time is we're always just pushing toward authenticity, because authenticity brings people together, because everybody experiences the same thing and we're all just hiding it. We're just pretending. We're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not a murderer, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I don't think about raping people. Like, yeah, you do. Everybody thinks about that shit, you know? I mean, so why don't we all come together and just realize that we literally, yes, we're all unique and we all have the same shared experience. Same experience, you know? And we play this game that we like in our workshops called Allies. And basically what happens is we have a circle, a big circle, and then somebody steps in the middle and shares an experience of theirs. And then everybody steps in the circle with them that resonates with that. You know, somebody would say, you know, I really wish I was closer with my dad. And they'd walk in the middle of the circle, and then people that resonates with would come in the middle of the circle too. And it's just, it's like, it's so normalizing when you realize you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. Like, this life is experienced by all of us in very much the same way. And we're just the entire world in one person. So, of course, we're going to experience all the... And that's the point. I mean, you know, we get put here on this playground called Earth to go on all the rides, you know? Even the scary rides. So... it's like, because after we're done with this playground, we go back to nothingness. We go back to, you know, there's no more stress anymore. There's no more anything. So we're here to do this carnival called Earth, and we might as well experience everything. And we might as well realize that everybody has the same thoughts. We're all the same. We're all really, like, we all get to experience life in a very similar way, and there's nothing wrong with any of it, because it's all just part of this human experience.
That was gorgeous. Thank you. That was really, really awesome. I think I'm done with questions now.
You're done.
Yeah,
that's it.
Done.
I dropped the mic on that one.
I'm hypnotised to go. But seriously, it was such a pleasure. Thank you ever so much. For people that would like to find out more about stuff you guys are doing, workshops you're coming out, what's the best way of checking out your stuff?
Well, they should definitely go check out, I think, your website, because you probably have a post about this podcast and stuff like that, and see more of these.
Good call.
And if they want to find me directly, if you can go to davebooda.com, which will direct you to Buddhism.com, which is I love religion.
Yeah.
I've just been fascinated by religion, so I decided why don't I just start my own? But nobody can join, so that's the thing. But it's Buddhism, BOODAISM.com, and I have articles and different things on there. My contact information is also on there.
I might have a new rule actually. People are only allowed to say the domain if they've got a really cool one like that. That'll be a new rule.
Yeah, it worked out. It took me a while to find, that this whole Buddhism idea just seems so me. But it took me a while. I went through different iterations of websites and things like that. But I don't know. I love the idea of me being like a faux religious figure. It's like just hilarious to me. So
Yeah.
I have this disclaimer at the bottom of my website that says Buddhism is not an actual religion, although that depends on how loose your definition of religion is. Mine is loose. So
cool.
That kind of sums it up for me.
It's naughty. It's good.
It's a little naughty, yeah. And I love the way you say naughty. That's even better. It's naughty. Yeah, that's automatically sexy when you say naughty like that. It's naughty.
Oh, I'll remember that.
Yeah,
and yeah, so the Born Happy address, if anyone's listening to this would like to find out more, is bornhappy.co. But thank you ever so much. It's been wonderful.
My pleasure.
Speak soon. Take care.